So please, come on out and share with us. Come on out, panel. We crave your wisdom. Come and share with us, everyone. You can come take a seat.
What's up? Good to see you guys. How's everyone doing? Us too. There's been an array of dope activities during the nighttime here at NFT.NYC, but we're excited to be here and chat with you this morning. So just to introduce myself, I'm Jess Solomon. I started my journey into Web3 a little bit ago. I was the first community manager at MakerDAO, so right at the launch of Single Collateral DAI in December 2017. Now I'm working on a number of other cool things in Web3. The space has really grown, so Rarible being one of those, the NFT marketplace, and then also some exciting DeFi and Cosmos projects. But let's take a moment to meet our super cool panelists. So, Badis, do you want to kick us off on your background?
Hi, everyone. I'm Badis. I'm the founder of Space, which is a commerce virtual world. Super excited to be here.
Hey everyone, I'm Sébastien Borger. I'm the COO and co-founder at The Sandbox, which is a decentralized gaming virtual world where anyone can make 3D content and 3D games and monetize them through the use of NFTs. I'm also the president of the Blockchain Game Alliance, which has now 400 members, so it's grown quite a lot.
Hey everyone, I'm Miles, founder of Decentral Games. We're the creators of Ice Poker. It's play and earn poker in Decentraland. Excited to hop into the discussion today.
Awesome. So the topic of our panel is interoperable metaverses. Part of the incentive for that is that when we think about metaverses, we kind of want to think of one metaverse, the metaverse. So I just kind of wanted to take a moment to ask our panelists what interoperable metaverses mean for their virtual worlds. Badis, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, totally. I think really what it's going to be is kind of like the combination of all virtual worlds coming together, finding a way to bring all the maps together, finding ways to transfer assets between each other's worlds, and so much more in that direction that needs to happen.
Well, going to the core root of definition of the metaverse, for us it's definitely a myriad of virtual worlds which users can access through an avatar. And that avatar, that becomes their new digital identity, as well as all their digital assets, their wearable, their equipment, their game content, their virtual land, and much more, as well as their money, their currency, they can take from one to another. So adding to what Baptiste said, interoperability is really that concept that users can own their asset into a wallet that's actually truly theirs, since they normally should have the custody of it. And they can use those assets across any of those virtual worlds. More than asset, I think the most important primary use case for interoperability will be the avatar. That's really the starting point. Just being able to keep that same identity from one to another, it's already a huge disruption versus what we've seen before anywhere else.
Yeah, I second everything Badis and Sebastian said about kind of avatar-centric metaverse experiences. And it makes a lot of sense, just given the fact that all your assets are secured by a blockchain. It's a public ledger, so it's easy for you to reference those assets on every platform that you take your avatar to. So I think it's just a matter of time before all the virtual worlds kind of become interoperable, just tied together by those assets.
Totally. Have we seen any examples of metaverse interoperability thus far that you'd say are telling us where we're going?
Definitely. So two things that comes to mind. Maybe some of you have heard yesterday the announcement about the Metaverse standard, which is like an initiative to try to provide like a standardization across formats of data and objects that will be used across different metaverse. It's interesting because he wants to offer like GLTF and USD, Universal Scene Descriptor, as a format so that any of those virtual worlds can like render the content from another. But that's not enough because that doesn't take into account again that notion that users can carry their content from one to another with that single sign-on, which is the wallet, not a centralized solution hosted by any other platform. And that comes to my second point. What we've done already with Sandbox in terms of interoperability is like we've showcased many Web3 NFT collection, most of them being profile picture collection, like such as World of Women, but there's CyberKong, there's Cool Cat coming up, there's Bored Ape coming up, and we are turning those 2D NFTs, images, collection of images, into 3D characters. So we're reinterpreting the format definitely, so that they become characters that come to life with 70 animation, can dance, can jump, can fight, many other things, and that's exciting.
I thought it was pretty cool that you did the strategical partnership with Zepeto. I think that's, I think initially all of this needs to be like manual partnerships to bring it all really into fruition. So I really like that initiative.
Definitely. Actually, what is Zepeto?
Yeah, it's a Korean virtual world. It's for teenagers. It's pretty cool. It's actually, I think, one of the most popular ones.
Cool. Another thing that I've thought about is, would we ever maybe see like a three-dimensional type of browser in the future for people to explore metaverses? Do you guys have any thoughts on that, or even like a Uniswap type thing in order for people to move their assets around?
It's pretty cool. I mean, I think I've had a couple of conversations with people. There's a guy called Joel Dietz. He's kind of working on a 3D browser in silence. I think there's going to have to be something like some command streaming client or some sort of like better browser to make it possible to portal between these worlds and to make it kind of a stream, kind of like a seamless experience. I don't know. Do you guys feel like how important is it to move things forward?
I think we're quite fragmented if you look at like how the metaverse experience is being like between desktop, VR, mobile, web, or client-based. But ultimately, it also is different. Each one of those virtual worlds, each one of those platforms, they offer like different controls, different immersion levels, different graphics maybe. I've seen one project, I think the name is Webaverse, or they try to recreate it all browser-based only and go from one to another seamlessly. It's very interesting, but still, again, it's browser-based. And right now, if you look at like the technical capability of what browsers can render in terms of 3D object scenes, number of users playing simultaneously, and kind of graphics, is too limited. And we are also dependent on like the standards of WebGL and others that are not built by us also. So many components to take into aspect there.
Yeah, I would say right now, I mean, a lot of the metaverses out there are usable within a browser, like a 2D browser, and it's just kind of very clear that it just does not deliver the right amount of, the right level of user experience that can appeal to the masses. It's pretty laggy. It's a good first implementation, but I think we'll probably see just desktop clients for every platform, which has kind of started to happen already. But I don't know, 3D browser could be a bit difficult just to appeal to each specific metaverse's criteria.
Did you guys see Opera dropped a new browser which like immediately like connects with your wallet, so it doesn't like store any of your history?
Yeah, Opera or Brave are two browsers that differently. So on that side is great, but I think what Miles is saying is like unless we implement cloud streaming or any other kind of technologies that can do object streaming, we're still far away from like the web versus client versus mobile versus VR kind of approach.
Yeah, I feel like there's definitely like some web CPU, web GPU kind of solution that's needed. Yeah.
Nice. Another thing I've heard a bit of chatter about is with the sort of massive land grabs that we saw last year within the metaverses, is maybe there's a bit of a comparison between these land and, say, top-level domains like .com, .ca, .gov. Does anyone have anything that they sort of think about that, or am I wrong?
You want to go first?
Sure. All right, so let's share some numbers. Like in 2021, there's been roughly $500 million of virtual real estate sales. I think Sandbox took about 64% of that market. We're still seeing large traction in 2022. Ultimately, like virtual land scarcity, I wouldn't say it's artificial, but I would say it's really dependent on each virtual world. Some choose to have like an infinite number of land by design. Some choose to have like a finite number of land by design. So there will be an infinite number of land since you can always have a new virtual world, decentralized and so on. But what matters most is like where is going to happen the concentration of activity and users into those virtual land. A little bit like if you compare to the real world, like metropolises versus like province or rural cities. To me, you should really consider when you're going to acquire virtual land, like what do you want to do on it first, and where is the key audience for what you want to do. And that is the most important aspect. Is it an audience around like gaming? Is it an audience into a certain country? Is it an audience focused maybe more into like retail and shopping versus like who wants to play casino, etc.? And that could define a much better strategy for you.
Yeah, I see also there's kind of like, you know, comparisons to domains for sure, but it's not necessarily like necessarily the best metaphor for the whole way of comparing it, because it's more use case oriented. Exactly, I totally agree on that, and I think you know, in topic to the panel, you know, there's going to have to be a lot of like standardizations come into place for land to be really recognized like a top level domain.
Yeah, 100%. I think as of now, you know, a lot of lands are just identified by coordinates on a map, and it was a huge speculation game at you know, over the last several years. And we've seen, you know, a few people start to build really engaging content. That's kind of what we at Decentral Games are focused on, is just building stuff that will attract users, not only once, you know, like a concert or, you know, one-off event, but like ongoing, you know, 24/7. And so in Decentraland, we actually account for 60% of the users of the platform, and you know, we try to just create a game that's fun to play. It's poker, and just keep people coming back, you know, every day.
That's very impressive. Like 60% of the
That's
platform.
really wild.
Wow.
Thank you guys.
One thing I might add is like I'm starting to see a lot like land is almost like infrastructure in the metaverse, and I'm already seeing like entrepreneurs launching businesses like Lighthouse, for example. You might have heard about it. Like they are creating like the meta discovery layer, so it doesn't matter where your users are on which metaverse, you should be able to find them, find your friends, find the different kind of activity with some sort of like Google for virtual land.
100%. That's really cool.
Yeah, so given that it seems that metaverse interoperability is most likely an inevitability, Miles, how do you think you might increase the number of users on Decentraland or generate value within interoperable metaverses?
Yeah, definitely. So we kind of started off by just like, building a game that everyone really enjoyed playing, kind of tying it to a token economic model that incentivized daily active play. And so as kind of the narrative recently has shifted more towards like building sustainable ecosystems, we're building a few different layers on top of our existing ice poker game at the moment to just ensure that it's a bit more long-term sustainable compared to a lot of play and earn ecosystems. But one other angle that I didn't really realize until more recently that's pretty interesting for Metaverse is there's a huge appetite for, you know, large Web2 companies and brands to advertise in the Metaverse, and just because, you know, it's obviously a buzzword still, and you know, there's not many, you know, options for them to really appeal to large audiences in the Metaverse, in the 3D environment, and so they're actually willing to spend a lot of money. And so right now we've tried to kind of design a system where that value goes directly to the player liquidity that we have in our game. So via like a token purchase and burn to directly give the value to the users. So yeah, just trying to kind of incorporate that into the entire ecosystem has been, you know, a challenge, but also been kind of interesting.
Nice. Do you guys have a favorite metaverse besides obviously the one single unified metaverse besides your own that you guys work on?
Sorry, what's the question?
Just like, is there a metaverse you like besides space?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I play in all of them, to be honest. I've been in Sandbox, big fan of Crypto Voxels, big fan of Decentraland. Oh, hey. So, I mean, I also play a lot of MMORPGs since I'm a kid, so I've been big fan of all the different experiences. And I think it's like Sebastian says, you know, I think there's going to be like categorical leaders for different kinds of topics. Yeah, that's really how I see it moving forward.
We spent numerous hours testing and playing around Decentraland, obviously, CryptoVoxel as well. More recently, and I'm really happy to see like there's even more virtual worlds coming up, like The Other Side by Bored Ape. It's quite interesting. It looks like it's very oriented towards like RPG kind of mechanics with the different kind of land, the kind of like content you will find in it, etc. Even though they didn't fully publish about the game rule. NFT World is an interesting one as well. I kind of like the way they tied the ownership of the land to a specific feature around like staking, etc. And what's interesting is that there are some experimentation around those business models around land. You don't know yet what would be the ultimate one. We chose to keep land in Sandbox as open as possible, not being too categorized, because we wanted to see more entertainment, virtual concert, virtual shows, games, and much more. But it's also interesting to see how some other platforms are definitely doing the other side, the kind of opposite, and being very, very focused into one specific niche. And that's really what, to me, creates the metaverse, having all that freedom of choice as a user.
Nice. Do you guys have any alpha about what's coming up with your projects that you can give to our amazing audience here?
Yeah, I mean, we're still in the alpha version of our product. We have a big beta update coming in the fall. Mostly kind of just improving the aesthetics, changing controller settings, all of the learnings we've made in the past 6 months kind of coming out. So really excited. We'll be launching as well, our own citizenship NFT, so pretty excited about that. Yeah.
Ton of stuff is coming in Sandbox. Almost every week we have one new announcement of a major brand or major company or artist coming in. On the product side, I would say like our roadmap as well, we keep on delivering like product updates over the Game Maker tool that adds like more multiplayer gameplay, social concert features, update over our 3D editor, VoxEdit. The possibility for any landowner to publish on their land and use some of the system we've introduced around NFT gating, play and earn rewards, battle pass rewards, etc. Definitely excited about that as well.
I actually really like how you guys make people like wait list to get into the next version, so that's really cool. Creates great engagement.
Thank you guys for the alpha. For DG, we're really working on 3 major initiatives right now. Tournament gameplay, Ice Poker SNGs, kind of sit and go tournaments. Ice Poker Go, which is like a mobile first version of our Ice Poker product. We kind of just wanted to expand outside of Decentraland, kind of still maintain like the metaverse appeal of your avatar, just like Sebastian was discussing earlier with interoperability via avatars, but just kind of have it more accessible via mobile app, as well as a desktop kind of 2D client. And then finally, kind of a new version of delegation. You know, a lot of planar and ecosystems are kind of experiencing, a bit of a pullback. And, we had native delegation of the NFTs in our ecosystem on our website. And so we're kind of exploring a bit more sustainable version of that model, kind of just incentivizing people to reinvest their earnings back into the ecosystem as opposed to extracting value, which is, I think it will be a much better kind of like system for the long term. So yeah, those three major things are what the DG team is delivering on over the next couple months.
Nice. And in terms of how far off we are from a totally interoperable metaverse, what would you guys say is our sort of timeline here?
I mean, pretty far is a very pessimistic truth, but it's kind of there. I think, look, what is most likely to happen is like some standards will just start happening, right? Some worlds are going to be first to be able to portal between each other. I think there's going to be like some initial asset transferring worlds for sure. And hopefully we'll also see like convertible assets, that'll be great. But I think in reality, just like with everything that we've seen, there's gonna be like worlds where it's gonna be like not yet available, or you cannot yet transfer this asset. But I think it's the movement towards this direction that needs to happen really quickly, because it's also really the kind of like where the biggest value that's untapped for all virtual worlds lies is being this fundamental like ground that different content is created for.
You know, it's quite hard to build a successful Web3 product already. Like, we're both being challenged by the existing Web2 competitors. We have to build and grow an audience as we develop the platform using NFTs, etc. And at the same time, we're also trying to do it as an open ecosystem and incorporate within other actors in the space to integrate. And that's the thing that I love about the Web3 communities. Is like, despite all those challenges and all that hard work, we're doing it. And for example, this afternoon, we have this Open Metaverse Alliance meeting, which is following up a series of conversations we had among several actors in the space to keep advancing on the topic already.
Yeah, very excited for that.
Nice. So it sounds like for a lot of this interoperability to happen, the projects and founders of these metaverses or virtual worlds now are sort of coming together to hash out that vision.
Yeah, I mean, we have to.
We also invite the founders of Web2 if they want, but so
Absolutely.
far...
That makes sense. Yeah. Can normal people join this kind of alliance meeting?
Of course, it's open to everyone.
We want to thank our panel. Can we all give the panel a hand? Thank you, Jess,
Thank you.
Sebastian, and Miles. Thank you so much. You can leave your microphones right there on the couch. That was wonderful. Thank you for being here.